Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
That's right. That's right. Just watch your step over.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. Good afternoon, Captain Parker. May you please introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Captain James Parker. I work for Polk County Fire Rescue.
Being a captain at PCFR, what are your responsibilities?
I oversee the daily operations and duties of Station 39, which is off of East Main Street for Polk County Fire Rescue, meaning the engine into rescue companies that run medical calls and fires in that area.
Tell the jury about your education and training and experience.
General high school education, and then you proceed on to a fire academy, in which you are completed from that with fire standards. Then proceed on to first responder EMT, which are semester-long programs, a year of paramedic, and then subsequent classes in driver engineer school, as well as fire officer 1, which is another 5 or 6 courses to which you can then test and get certified to be a captain.
To attain the rank of captain, did you have to come up through the ranks and work the different positions?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And how many years have you been on the job?
With Polk County Fire Rescue, this will be year 11 for me.
All right. Now, Captain Parker, during your time in your position, not necessarily just as a captain, but just in your career, have you had the opportunity to respond to many different scenes where somebody has been injured?
Yes, sir. On average, about 2,000 calls a year.
During those many, many calls, have you ever seen a victim that has been stabbed, that had a stab wound?
There's been quite a few. I'm not sure as to how many.
All right, I want to direct your attention to this case particularly. What was your responsibility as it pertains to September 8th of 2024?
My crew and myself were dispatched to a call. It was dispatched as an assault call, which is a generic code out for something that was put in through dispatch. We were responding per our policy. We stage at a short distance away until law enforcement is able to arrive on scene and make sure the scene is secured and safe. At which time we then proceed on scene and providing medical need or necessity of the victim/patients.
Did you enter the residence to see the victim?
Yes, sir.
Describe to the jury what you saw.
We entered through the front door, went through the living room area, back into the kitchen, at which point they were escorting the accused out of the residence. The victim herself was laying on the kitchen floor, supine, and with a pool of blood.
What does supine mean?
On her back.
Now, did she have any signs of life whatsoever?
No, sir.
The pale color, what is that indicative of?
Typically of blood loss or poor circulation.
Is she checked for a pulse and her vitals and whatnot?
Yes, sir. Per usual, we arrive on scene, check the patient's responsiveness. She was not responsive, to which I could then tell she was not breathing. A pulse was checked for and not obtained, as she did not currently have one. CPR was initiated for a brief few seconds until further extended injuries could be checked, and then it was determined among the crew and myself that the injuries were not sustainable.
So, based upon the severity of the stab wounds, was there anything you could further do for her?
No, sir.
Now, what can you tell the jury about what you saw pertaining to the stab wound?
The stab wound itself did not seem to be very wide. It was kind of narrow in size. Upon further inspection after starting the CPR, it was obvious that every time I did a compression, there was air that was coming through the wound itself. So it was obviously pretty deep. It looked like a lot of the vasculature and the stuff inside of the wound itself was very obvious and could be seen, and that they had cut major areas such as the arteries.
Okay. What was the terminology you used? The vascular?
Vasculature, yes, sir.
What does that mean?
Meaning the tissue and stuff surrounding.
So the inside of her neck was apparent. You could actually see what was inside.
Yes, sir.
What was the defendant's demeanor like?
From my personal experience, it was a little odd in nature. He didn't seem very distraught or upset. He seemed kind of calm upon my entering the residence, and then upon exiting the residence, he seemed to almost have a not a full argument, but somewhat argumentative with the deputies that were trying to assist him out of the residence.
Now, during the 11 years when you've interacted with different people at a scene similar to this, I mean, is there any one way to act, or do you see it all?
No, it's different for each person.
Okay. Was the way that you described the defendant's demeanor, did that stand out? Did that stand out compared to the other scenes you've been to?
Yeah, that's not. I mean, like I said, I've seen several, and to be distraught, to be upset, or to be in tears or even hysterical is pretty common. I would say that's what I see most of the time, and he didn't seem to be any of those.
All right, Captain Parker, I don't have any further questions for you.
Thank you. Cross?
Captain Parker, do you have any psychological training?
No, ma'am, I do not.
You did say that there is no one right way for somebody to act after they've been through either a fight or a traumatic experience, right?
I did say that.
So you cannot say what was going on inside of Collin's mind or heart when you saw him, can you?
No, ma'am, I didn't say what was going on inside of him.
And you have no idea what he's been through in his life and what coping mechanisms he has devised or that he has had to come up with to survive those things, do you?
No, ma'am, I've never met him before this.
Okay. And you have no idea what happened in that kitchen before you arrived, do you?
No, ma'am, I cannot speculate as to that.
Thank you.
Redirect.
Captain Parker, was the stab wound that you saw consistent with the victim being stabbed by somebody?
I would think so.
All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
Is the witness released?
No objection, Your Honor.
Started. Thank you, sir. You're free to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Owen Mullen, Owen, Mullen. I'm a firefighter paramedic for Polk County Fire Rescue.
Tell the jury about your training and experience.
So I started in New York State in about 2017, 2018 as a firefighter EMT. I became paramedic in 2021. I moved here in 2022, or actually 2023. I've worked here at Polk County Fire Rescue since I moved here.
And in your current position, what are your responsibilities?
So on my crew, I'm the lead paramedic. I work on the ambulance, so I make patient care decisions.
And was that what you were working September 8th of last year?
Yes.
Tell the jury about how you responded to the crime scene in this case.
We were dispatched to, I believe, an assault call. While we were responding to there, we got information on our dispatch that the patient had gotten an injury to her neck. She was bleeding. She was not conscious. And the dispatch was giving the caller life-saving instructions. And then we were going to stage in the area for a police to secure the scene.
Did you have an opportunity to actually go inside the house?
Yeah, once the deputies cleared the scene, we went in and I found the patient in the kitchen.
What did you notice about the patient?
She was lying face up. She had a wound to her neck. It was narrow and very deep, and she was no longer bleeding. She was not conscious.
And from the very deep wound, did you have any further thoughts about the nature of the wound?
You could see all the way back to her neck very easily. You could see her vasculature, her muscle tissue were obviously visible, and that type of injury is incompatible with life.
Did you have an opportunity to observe the defendant's demeanor on scene?
I did not directly interact with him, but when I did notice him, he was outside talking with the deputies. He did not appear upset, and he was almost kind of annoyed with their questioning of him.
Have you been to other scenes where somebody's family member, spouse, or close friend has been killed?
Yes, very frequently.
All right. And what do you typically see there?
Typically, they'd be very upset and hysterical, although it is different for every person.
Did the defendant's demeanor seem out of the ordinary to you?
Yes.
Were you the one that eventually declared the victim officially deceased?
Yes.
And at what time was that?
I believe at 18:27.
That being 6:27 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, is that? I understand that's the official time you write down, but is it a fair statement that she could have been dead? Obviously, before that time. That's just when you declared her dead.
Yes, that time is when we called on the radio, and I declared her deceased.
What happens
but
if
her actual time of death could have been before that.
Okay, gotcha. Do you declare a time of death if you arrive to a scene like a day or two after somebody's been dead?
Yes, because we are normally the first medical provider that sees that person, and usually when we declare that that's the time of death, that stays with the patient, unless there's some other circumstances.
Okay, so as you said earlier, though, the patient could have died, in a general sense, minutes, hours, days before? Correct. Not in this particular case, but just in general sense?
Correct.
All right, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Cross-exam.
Mr. Mullen, how many Polk County Fire Rescue personnel entered the kitchen?
We had a crew of 5 on my crew. I have a partner on the ambulance, and we had 3 on the engine, so I believe all 5 of us had entered, so I believe 5.
5 people entered the actual kitchen.
Correct.
And how many people laid hands on or got close enough to apply, like, the little stickers we see on Miss Griffith's body?
Myself, my captain who just testified, and then one of my firefighter EMTs had placed those stickers on. Those are the 3 I know. I don't believe anyone else actually had touched her directly.
The area where she was laying was quite confined, right?
Yes.
And the scene was messy when you arrived,
Yes.
as far as blood?
Yes.
Today, while you were waiting to testify, did you talk about your testimony with any of the other witnesses, say your partner or the captain or the deputies who also responded and cleared the scene for you?
Not exactly. You're just making conversation.
Didn't talk about this case at all?
We talked about the case, but not what we were going to say.
Okay. Thanks.
Redirect.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Is the witness released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Thornhill?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.